Welcome, it's Abhigyan, just another quantum computing enthusiast from Quiftex. In this video, we will be discussing about quantum entanglement, which is another important property and you can say a distinguishing property which distinguishes quantum computing from classical computing. So if I were to define quantum entanglement, in layman's term, it's nothing but the probability of two particles to interact with each other not depending on the distance by which they are separated. In classical computation, you must have studied about you can say local realism, that is a particle reacts in accordance to its the particle surrounding it. You can say that it reacts in with respect to its surrounding, but when two particles said to be entangled, then they will interact in relation with each other, not depending whether they are present in the same you can say local space or have been separated by a larger distance. So that's the theoretical aspect of entanglement. Now let's come to the more practical, you can say, or more numerical aspect. So first of all, I'm taking a simple example. For example, if I take a state, let me call it omega plus, which has the following you can say representation, where 0 is the amplitude of 0 0 and 1 by under root 2 0 1 and 1 by under root 1 0 and 0 for 1 1. So it's quite clear that in this for this given state, the probability of finding 0 1 and 1 0 is 50%. We also let me say that I have two qubits, which let me assume that I use for generating this omega plus. Let one be omega plus and let two omega 1 and let second be omega 2. Let me take a general representation. Omega 1 is equal to a1 0 plus b1 1. Omega 2 is equal to a2 0 plus b2 1. We already know that if we were to write omega 1 omega 2, it is nothing but tensor product of omega 1 and omega 2. And in the previous video, we have already discussed how to calculate or how to find tensor product. So we'll just use that method and get this state for this given omega 1 and omega 2, a1 a2 0 0, a1 b2 0 1, a2 b1 1 0 and b1 b2 1 1. Now let me say I compare this 1 and 2. So comparing 1 and 2, what we get is we get a1 into a2 is equal to 0, a1 into b2 is equal to 1 by under root 2, a2 into b1 is equal to 1 by under root 2 and b1 b2 is equal to 0. So if so what we get here from these two equations is either a1 is equal to 0 or either a2 is equal to 0 or either b1 is equal to 0 or b2 is equal to 0. So we will consider each case. Let me first consider that a1 is equal to 0 and b2 is equal to 0. Then this given value is a contradiction, because if one of these two values is 0, then this should be 0, but it is 1 by under root 2. Therefore this is a contradiction. And same goes if I take a2 is equal to 0 and b1 is equal to 0, then this a2 into b1 should be 0, but is 1 by under root 2. So that is also a contradiction. So what we can you can say conclude from this contradiction is that this given state omega 1, there is no possible way of you can say disintegrating or differentiating this omega plus into omega 1 and omega 2, which is you can say origin qubits. That is, these qubits do not exist independently and are dependent on each other for this given state to exist. So you can say this is how we define entanglement in physics. So you can say in actual theoretical terms, two qubits are said to be entangled, are closely dependent on one another for their existence. So moving further, so another important all these were theoretical aspects of entanglement, but what entanglement really you can say fascinates is in a way of measurement. As we all know, is a physical property of a qubit. Until now we have been measuring our qubits along the z-axis, but let us say that to make things simple, let us say that when we measure it along z-axis, the 0 qubit points upward, and the 1 qubit points downward. And when we measure it along x-axis, the 1 qubit, as you can see, 0 qubit points this direction and the 1 qubit points in that direction. And in y-axis, if we were to measure it along y-axis, this is nothing but we are changing the orientation of the measuring device. You can say to match the given axis. Then let me say that 0 is pointing this direction and 1 is pointing upward direction. So now we have three possible axes for a measurement of a given qubit. But now the important thing about entanglement, or you can say the fascinating thing about entanglement, is if I were to take two entangled particles, let me say this omega 1 and this omega 2 with two entangled qubits, and if I were to separate them by huge distance, let me say one was in North Pole and other is in South Pole. And if I were to measure these qubits, then according to a test conducted by Bell, that's why we will study about Bell's pair, that's why these are called Bell pair, the two qubit entangled pair are called Bell's pair, but that's in the later part of the video. But if I would have to have one omega 1 and omega 2 two qubits, such that omega 1 and omega 2 formed an entangled pair, then if I were to separate these omega 1 and omega 2 by large distances, and if I were to measure this omega 1, and let me say it had the value 0, then I can be certain that the value omega 2 will be 1, which is the opposite, or you can say the polar opposite of omega 1. So this interesting property holds for all these axes. That is if I were to measure this omega 1 along x-axis, so I will get you can say I will get this, then I am sure, and I can say by a certainty or a certain degree that when I will measure omega 2, it will point in the opposite direction. So that is what is in it. But if these two given qubits were not entangled, then if I were to measure omega 1, there would be no way of predicting what the value omega 2 will show if I were to measure it. But if these two qubits were entangled, then if I were to measure any one qubit, then I can be sure to a certain degree that the measurement which I get from this qubit will be opposite of what I will get when measuring this qubit, and this holds for all three axes. This is the most fascinating thing about entanglement. So moving a discussion further, so I mentioned in the previous slide about Bell's pair. So Bell's pair are nothing but, you can say, two qubit entangled pairs. So if I were have omega 1 omega 2, then these are all possible entangled pair we could obtain from omega 1 omega 2, which is a two qubit system. So just have a look at the values. These are nothing. This value basically says that this given qubit when measured have a 50% probability of being in state 0 0, a 50% probability of being in state 1 1. The same goes for this. It has 50% probability of being in state 0 1 and 50% probability of staying in state 1 0. So moving further, now we'll actually learn on how to implement these circuits. You can say how to generate these pairs on a real quantum circuit. So this is a simple circuit. This is you can say this is a basic circuit of entanglement. This circuit we'll use this particular circuit in order to generate two qubits entangled pairs. So let me show you how this circuit works. So for example, let me say this is the value for initially 0. We already know that Hadamard gate you can say moves it to the superposition. So we know that 0 will move to plus state, as we already know plus state is nothing but superposition. You can say 1 by under root 2 0 plus 1, that is, it has 50% probability of being in state 1 and 50% probability of being in state 0. So we already know this. So you can say that this you can say this output what will come out of Hadamard gate is 50% times 0 and it's 50% time 1. So we also need this gate. This is nothing but a C0 gate. Whenever this value is 1, we apply you can say a poly-X gate on this qubit. So now the interesting thing is this, because this is a Hadamard, this is a result of an Hadamard gate. So this 50% time it's pointing 0. So whenever this is pointing 0, when measured this is pointing to the value 0, then this qubit will not be affected. Therefore, will get a pair 0 0. However, in the 50% time when the you can say the value is measured to be 1, the qubit is flipped. So we'll measure value 1 1. And the probability of finding both of these values is nothing but 50%. So overall we get the state 1 by under root 2 0 0 plus 1 1, which we saw in the previous slide is nothing but 5 plus, which is the first Bell pair. Now moving forward, the same circuit we are taking, but now we have changed the input qubit. Now the input qubit is 1. We already know that when 1 goes to Hadamard gate, it becomes 1 minus 1, which is nothing but we apply a minus to the previous value, so that it will also have the same 50% probability of being 0 and 50% probability of being 1. However, because of the one being the input being 1, the phases will be shifted, so we will have a minus. And this so like the previous slide, the same principle applies here. This time we will get 1 by under root 2 0 0 minus 1 1 minus, because of the change in the phase, you can say, which is nothing but 5 minus Okay, let me just try to this is 5 minus. Moving further, now the input qubits are 0 and 1, so we already know that this is nothing but plus state, which is 50% time it is 0 and 50% time it is 1. Whenever this is 0, this becomes 1 only. Whenever this is 1, this becomes 0. So in the end what we get is 1 by under root 2 0 1 plus 1 0, which is nothing but omega plus. Now moving forward, now we have, you can say the last pair, you can say 1 1, because so 1 1 will, we already know that 1 is nothing but minus, which is nothing but 1 by under root 2. You can say 0 minus 1, which is nothing but 50% time it's 0 and 50% time it's 1. When the above value is 0, the below value is also 1, it remains 1. When the below value is 1, it becomes 0. So what we get in the end is nothing but 1 by under root 2 0 1 minus, you can say 1 0, which is nothing but omega minus. All of these can be easily summed up by this diagram, which is nothing but the circuit we have been studying. So according to the input we get a particular pair. Here omega 1 is basically showing, omega plus you can say is basically showing the value 0 0 plus 1 1, and here 5 plus is nothing but 1 by under root 2 0 1 plus 1 0. So this is everything you should know about the Bell's pair, which is nothing but a 2-qubit entangled pair. We can further move the discussion, and you can say this is another special state known as GHZ state. What this basically gets inputted, you can say it basically gives the input of this form: 1 by under root 2 0 dot 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 n times 0 plus 1 dot 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 n times 1. So you can take any circuit and it will it will give you a position such that all n qubits are 0 and all n qubits are 1, and with a probability 50%. So there is nothing but a 3-qubit GSZ gate, and the output shows that this is nothing but 1 by under root 2 0 0 0 plus 1 1 1. So this everything that you should know about entanglement. Now we'll try to actually implement the circuit on Qiskit. So now moving on to the implementation. I'm not using a circuit editor this time in order to make all of you guys familiar with the, you can say, Qiskit programming environment that we will be using in the future, and that turns out to be more efficient. So the first block is nothing but I am just you can say importing the necessary packages which I need for implementing the circuit. I'm just connecting this local environment, you can say the local notebook, to the IBM my IBM Q account. Let me just run it. Yes, because I've already used the credentials, so it just shows an error. Then I'm just, you can say, importing the backend, or you can say connecting to the quantum computer which I'll be using in order to run my circuit, and then I'm just creating a quantum register in order to store the 2 qubits, and then I'm making classical register to store the output values where I measure these qubits. Then I'm just creating a quantum circuit with these Q and C, 2 qubits and 2 classical registers. Then I apply an Hadamard gate on the first, you can say the first qubit, in order to get it to superposition. We already know how to get it to superposition, and then I apply and you can say control NOT gate, such that the first qubit acts as a you can say control bit, and the second qubit acts as a target bit, and then I just measure it. And let me show you what the circuit looks like. Yeah, that's exactly the circuit which I will be showing in the previous slides and the previous part of the video. Now I'll just run this circuit, and what I'm doing here is I'm running this circuit 1024 times, and it should be running. and what we expect, the output we expect here is we should get almost 50% probability of it being in state 0 0 and 50% probability of it being in state 1 1. So yeah, here we see that it gave value 1 1 515 times and gave value 0 509 times. It is almost 50%. To give a better intuition, you can also use plot graph. So let me just, you can say, I think I called it, but let me just run it again. Yeah, so now I think it should run basically. Yeah, so what we see here is nothing but a, you can say, graphical representation of the same thing which we did above, or you can say above. It shows it on a bar graph, so you can easily see that it is a state in 0 1 or state in state 1 1 with almost 50% probability. Now to change the circuit, I'll do nothing, but you can say, just add an X gate in, because initially the value of the qubit 1 is you can say 0, so I'll just apply an X gate here on Q0. Yeah, and now I'll just run it, and now what I should get is, it's like 0 and 1. I should get, you can say, 0 1 and 1 0 with positive phase, with negative phase. Yeah, I get 1 1 and 0 0, 547 and 477 times. Let me just plot that here. Here you go, it's almost 50%. There's some disturbance due to the noise and all. Noise is nothing but, you can say, an error rate, you can say. Now I'll apply an X gate on 1. Now I should get 0 1 and 1 0, 0 1 and 1 0. Yeah, I get 0 1 and 1 0 with almost 50% probability. There you see. Now I'll just apply another X gate, but this time on both, so the both this you can say qubits will be initially in state 1, Q0, let me say Q0. So you can see I'm applied a X gate to both the qubits now. It should again be 0 1 and 1 0, but with a negative phase. But the negative phase would not affect the result, of course. There you go. It shows 0 1 519 times and 1 0 505 times. And now just plot the histogram, and you can see it's almost 50% probability of being 0 1 and 1 0. So that's it. That's everything that's about quantum entanglement. What quantum entanglement basically allows us to implement various algorithms, which we'll study in the later videos, you can say. One of which is quantum teleportation, which another is quantum super dense coding, and so on. There you can say the quantum entanglement and superposition form the base of the quantum computing, and this is what differentiates or makes it more powerful than its classical counterpart. So that's it for this video. Thank you.